بأمي وعلى آله وصحبه لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا من فضلك علما. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولا سبحان الله والحمد سبحان الله العظيم. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى السلام والذي الجاري واجمعنا به في كل أقوالنا وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزدت ذلك كلمات عدد كل حرف كتب ويكتب وقرئ أو يقرأ وسمع أو يسمع أو رؤي أو يرى الداخلين وإن تعلم تعليما تذكر تذكيرا نفع الاتباع والإنفاذ والاستنفاذ والحث بالتمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والدعاء إلى الخير والدلالة على الهدى بالغرب والله سبحانه وتعالى والثواب والفضل. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, continuing with our lessons from Tawjīh Nabīh Mardāt Bārīh of the foundational work of Habib Umar. Habib Umar, it is reported that he said of this book that whoever desires to be connected to us or to understand the manhaj of Sada al-Ba'ali in today's times, and this book is sufficient for them. So it is an extremely important work. Generally, this is taught in Darul Mustafa. After students have gone through a series of books, there is a document which people had asked Habib Umar about what books should actually be read for those who are connected to the path, and he gave a list of books. He said the order is not very important, but people should be going through these things. Just before we start today's lesson, to explain the importance of when we talk about why seeking knowledge is better than nothing, ibadah. And this is something questions keep coming up where people are caught between wanting to do an ibadah and wanting to spend all their time seeking knowledge. Generally, a person who is not connected to the ulama or to circles of knowledge, but they are given to ibadah, they are given to wanting to do khair, ibadah has an addictive effect, right? Where if you tell someone who's been reading, for example, he's reading 3 ajla of Quran every day, and he's a hafidh, and 3 ajla is sufficient for him. Now you find he'll be able to go on to 5, 6, and 7. Sometimes some of them are able to read up to 10 ajla of Quran a day. Now such a person who has not begun his quest of obligatory knowledge, it will be better for him to stick to his minimum of 3 ajla. At the time, that other hour or 2 or 3 hours that he's spending now reading 7 and 8 and 10 paras. Obviously, this we're not talking about Ramadan, because many of our institutions, many of our ulama in Ramadan, they would completely free themselves for the Quran. Talking in general sense, and everyone then relates according to their own conditions. So it would be better for him to use his extra time to seek obligated knowledge. Because what you gain through education, what you gain through the mind's understanding of the deen, right, you are gain through thousands and thousands of years of ibadah. What ibadah does is ibadah strengthens your foundational beliefs and strengthens what's in the heart, right? So a person who hasn't learned to purify his soul and he still has purity in his heart, what is he actually doing by an abundance of ibadah? He's only strengthening those impurities. Or if he has cobwebs of misconceptions when it comes to Islamic belief or aqidah, or belief about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or belief about the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what his ibadah is doing is just entrenching those cobwebs. And so therefore the educational aspect, the academic aspect, is not purely only for the sake of learning, but it's to align now the soul and the mind and the heart and the emotions, right, and everything. Because if all of these aspects are not aligned, a person will not be able to traverse the path in an easy way. They will find themselves always missing something, right? Or you find someone involved in ibadah, but they feel like they're running and they're not getting anywhere. And someone who is seeking knowledge, also, but they've totally forgotten the spiritual aspect, right? They find themselves increasing in physical knowledge, but they also feel like they're missing out on something. And so these concepts have to all come together. And so what we are doing now is we are mapping out the path. Once you map out the path and you know how to tread the path, the ibadah, which is the petrol, right, for your spiritual vehicle, you now have the power and the templates to actually walk on the path. Otherwise, a person doing tons of ibadah, right, lots of petrol, the car's going, but you don't actually know where you put it. And these people, shaitan, play with them. Shaitan can play with a worshipper, right? And therefore the hadith, the tradition that comes that one alim, a person who is knowledgeable, is worse upon shaitan than 1,000 worshippers. One scholar is worse upon shaitan than 1,000 worshippers. Because the worshipper shaitan can come to him for any needs. He doesn't know. And when we talk about knowledge, we're not just talking knowledge about the Sharia in terms of fiqh and ahkam. We are talking about this fiqh and ahkam, including the knowledge of the purification of the heart. Imam al-Ghazali, in his Ihya al-Medin, he speaks about seeking knowledge. He mentions that what was referred to as fiqh in the days of old, in the time of the Sahaba, in the Tabi'een, the Tabi'een, what was referred to as fiqh in those days was the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? What was the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If Imam Abu Hanifa, in one of his books, he called it al-fiqh al-akbar, which starts with aqidah. Right? Al-fiqh al-akbar. There is fiqh, which is, if you want to call it fiqh al-asghar, which is how to read salah and how to do this, how to do that. And then what we refer to as fiqh al-akbar, which is in terms of your understanding, your creed, what is necessary for a believer to learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then tasawwuf, for the purification of the heart, was known as fiqh al-batin, the fiqh that's required for the purification of your soul and for you to be able to tread the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so it was not compartmentalized in the past. Obviously, with time and how any science has developed, things then become compartmentalized to make it easy to deal with. And the Ummah needs to come back to dealing with knowledge as one complete path. Habib always says this. He says the person who is connected to this path, and also the students in Dawah Mustafa especially, he says those that give preference to knowledge over spirituality, or those who give preference to da'wah over knowledge, those who give preference to any one of the objectives over the other, he said he is not prepared to receive the gifts that will be given to people who come to these places. Meaning the mujahada, and to be able to give knowledge and spiritual purification, right, and da'wah, it's haqq, that in itself is a mujahada. Because the nafs will always be trying to pull you to expend all your efforts in one particular path. And that's fine if you are seeking knowledge, if you are initially in your path, for example, someone might lean in, your specialization might be towards one of the objectives, but it doesn't mean you should neglect the others. So continuing with yesterday's lesson, we spoke of the importance of silk and ikhlas and getting rid of conceit, getting rid of wanting to show off, to be noticed by people. And a true believer's objective should only be that what does Allah think about it, and what does people think about it, right? Sometimes you find people, if you do this for me, you will have a special status in my eyes, right? Sometimes you find people, when they ask for a favor, they say, if you do this, I'll have so much respect. Your respect has increased in my eyes, right? What should the response to such a person be, right? In your heart, when people say that, the response, we're not worried about status in anyone's eyes. Sometimes, and we mentioned about these types of people, some of the only we meet some of them, that they do things specifically when they see that a student, or they see that someone is now beginning to become attached to them, because they perceive that they might have something of rely, or they might have something special in terms of a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They do things specifically, right, just to completely break that person's. They ask them for money or something. So I've been in a situation as well, having to translate for some of these types of people. And this student comes and he comes to one of these teachers, and he's completely unraveled with him and asking for dua, and he wants that. You know how people do, right? And so he says, okay, and he speaks to him afterwards. Then afterwards, completing the whole jalsa half an hour. So the Shaykh says something, and I have to translate for this person. And confused. He said, no, translate. He's asking, I think $100, right? And you see the difference when I translated it, the entire face changed. His entire demeanor changed, right? Obviously, he didn't understand. I didn't do some Danish control after from my own, but that's what the Shaykh wanted, right? Sometimes as well, even they might even in terms of akhlaq and character, they might do things which are just to put you off, and they're trying to protect the state of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A very famous story of Shaykh Ahmad al-Rifai. Like the story is, and it's almost they say there was over thousands of people that actually witnessed this event. That when he came to the Rawdah Sharifa to give salams to the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned these lines of poetry, meaning of which that I used to send my salam from a distance to you, O Prophet of Allah, but now here I am in your presence, and so put forth your hand so that I may kiss your hand. He said that the hand of the Prophet ﷺ actually came out of the Rawdah Sharif, and many people actually had witnessed this at that time. And this is recorded and documented in the history books as well. What did he then do afterwards? He went to the door of Abu Salam, or the door exiting from the Rawdah Sharif, and he put his face on the ground, and he requested every person that was there that witnessed that event put their foot over his chin. So putting himself down. Why? Is because they don't want any private elements to enter, even though they are beyond any private elements enter their hearts. But he said of Imam al-Aitarus, whom we mentioned, part of his mujahada, he would go and sleep in the garbage dumps. These are people of spiritual stations which one can only dream about, right? But part of their mujahada was he would go and sleep in the garbage dump. And is there anything wrong for a person to sleep on the street? If we truly believe that we are nothing, right, in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then no menial task should be too difficult for an aspirant. This is why we mentioned that people do khidmah, right? People test themselves to see what type of thing. Anything that you think is too menial for you, meaning there's still pride. And the purpose of doing the khidmah is just to get rid of that pride. So Imam al-Haddad mentions about not seeking status. It is appetizing, but in it is poison, or which you cannot know. هذه الأوصاف التي ذكرناها انتبهوا منها. Umar then says, these qualities which we have mentioned now, take cognizance of them, be aware of them. وتحققوا بها. Right? Try and imbibe this and inculcate it into your lives حتى تتهيئوا لأن ينظر إليكم حملة الرأي. Such that you may then be prepared so that the flag bearers can gaze upon either the Prophet ﷺ or what they call the mawqif, the caravan of those who are in that rank of people who have always been carrying the inheritance of the Prophet ﷺ in every time. Okay, even in the barzakh, it is said, when a normal person passes away, in the barzakh, your deeds are presented to your parents, right? And your parents then, if they see good deeds, they pray and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if they see bad deeds, then they ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you, and they make dua, Allah do not allow them to die until they repent from those deeds. Then obviously the other ahadith that the Prophet also speaks about, that your deeds are presented to him, right? The hadith mentions specifically on the Monday and the Thursday. The verse of the Quran was say, Allah ma'amalakum wa rasuluhu wal mu'minun. Allah says, Allah and the Prophet and the believers will see your deeds. And so if the concern that a parent has for their children in their normal day-to-day deeds is that they need this to ask, what do you think of those people who were entrusted of this great responsibility? They were guardians of the deen. Are they not looking to see which of their spiritual children now are going to be prepared to carry the aman? Many times coming to lessons, coming to the masjid, coming to the circles of the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are merely looking at the hearts to see who are the ones who will now be carrying this responsibility after us. And there is an intention a person should have. Not out of pride and arrogance, but out of honor. Because it is an honor to be ascribed to this rank of people. So prepare yourself so that you may be gazed upon by Like these people, but if you are against the point by you will reach the heights of spiritual elevation. وَاحْفَظُوا الْكَلَامَ, are you saying? Preserve the speech or remember this or record the speech, but it's the kalam al-adiyya. This is not ordinary speech. It's not just, we're not just talking out of, or you can say we're not just talking things out of our tongue. هذا كلام متصل بوحي ربكم. This speech is connected to the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because everything that is being said in this book, its foundations can be found in the Quran, in the authentic Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The speech is connected to the revelation of your Lord, which was revealed to your Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. سَيَظْهَرُ خَبْرُهُ فِي الْقِيَامَةِ. Its affair and this that I am telling you about will all become clear and apparent when on the day of Qiyamah. وإذا ستمر الأيام على الناس هذا سيذهب وهذا سيذهب لكن الخبر في القيامة. As for this world, people will come and go. Okay, the days will pass by, people will come and go. All the different people with the different ideologies, the different lifestyles, everyone's falling to themselves, to their cults, to their groups. People will come and go, but on the day of Qiyamah, this will be clear. Like on the day of Qiyamah, it will be the only I say that as soon as a person's eyes close, right? And as soon as the soul leaves the body, immediately at that point, all of the realities become clear to them. So a disbeliever who didn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as soon as their eyes close, right? Obviously they are now privy to the realm of the barzakh, but the understanding of what the haqq is, what the truth is, what Islam is, who the Prophet is, all of it becomes clear to this person instantly. And you can imagine the regret a person will have, right? And they realize that I've missed it. And then even believers as well. People have different understandings, different ideologies, ways that they are living. We find some people, they live on a path in which they disparage certain groups of people, they disparage the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As soon as the eyes close, the reality becomes there. And was I on the truth? Was I on 100% of truth? Was I on 75% of truth? And who were the beloved of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Who were the ones who were the true bearers of this prophetic inheritance? Everything becomes clear for a person in an instant. That understanding hits the heart, and instant the eyes closed, right? And then it's either regret, right? Or person then see the great tidings of what is true. وَالَّذِي يَأْخُذُ بِقُوَّةٍ وَيَسْلُكْ يَسْلُكُ مَعَ أَهْلِ الرَّيَاءِ. So those of you who take the speech, take these lessons with strength, meaning they take it with determination, وَيَسْلُكْ, right? And they are truthful, they fulfill its right. يَسْلُكُ مَعَ أَهْلِ الرَّيَاءِ. They will tread that spiritual path with those same kinds of people who will reach their best. Right? And then the verse of the Quran is recited, فَمَنْ نَكَثَ فَإِنَّمَا يَنكُثُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ. After the Prophet took the bay'ah from the Sahaba under the tree, right? Or when the bay'ah is described in the Quran, right? Allah says, فَمَنْ نَكَثَ فَإِنَّمَا يَنكُثُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ. That whoever then breaks his covenant, then he only breaks his covenant against his own self, against his own soul. وَمَنْ أَوْفَى بِمَا عَاهَدَ عَلَيْهِ اللَّهُ. And whoever fulfills this covenant that they have taken with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَسَيُؤْتِيهِ أَجْرًا عَظِيمًا. Allah will indeed grant them a great reward. أَسْأَلُ اللَّهَ أَنْ يُوَفِّقَنَا وَإِيَّاكُمْ لِلْوَفَاءِ. Allah guide us, you give us divine assistance, so that we may become people who are fulfilling of these covenants. حَتَّى نَمُوتُ مُوفِينَ بِالْعُهُدِ. Such that we die or we pass away in the state that we are constantly fulfilling this covenant. It is not something that you only want to do for one day, 1 week, or you feel good about it. So it is something, it's a lifestyle. This is a lifestyle change. You want to live your life, mufina bil uhud. What does it mean, mufina bil uhud? Right? Habib also he described people that will come to the name while he was still in very long shift. No, young people, Mustafa was even built, and he would talk about how people would come, mufuna bil, or they would fulfill their covenants, and they would then affect this world around them. What does it mean? It means in everything that you are doing, you're doing it in the way that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The way you walk, the way you talk, the way you interact with your spouse and your children, the way you do your business dealings, right? The way you interact with your neighbors, poor, your interaction even with governments, leaders, organizations. You will do it all in a way which is fulfilling of the covenant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a way which He wants you to interact with every atom in this existence. And if you do it the way Allah wants you to, then you are fulfilling the covenant. And you want to be able to live this lifestyle not just in the masjid, not just in circles of dhikr and circles of knowledge, but in every aspect of our lives, and not just for a period of time, but for entire life. Such that death comes upon us and we are fulfilling of the covenant. حتى نموت مؤمنا بعهود نحشر مع ركع السجود. And if one passes away and fulfill the covenant, then they will be raised up in the company of those who are fulfilling of the covenant, those who are ركع السجود, those who are given to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ندخل معهم جنات الخلود, and then with them one will be able to enter the eternal paradise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala مع المقربين الشهود, those who will be given the ultimate proximity and witnessing of the divine countenance. Ameen Allahumma Ameen. In this next section, Umar is encouraging and he is trying to rouse the determination of these students. And this gathering took place on the 30th of Muharram of the Islamic year 1482. So almost how many years ago? 23 years ago. فقال رضي الله تعالى عنه ونفعنا به ما أعظم هذا الرب. How great is it, our Lord? How great is it this Lord of ours? How great is it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? وما أعظم هذا الفضل. How great is the spirit of ours? إذا أنتم اتصلتم به ففيكم الأمل لحمل الأحمال الكبيرة العزيزة. And so if you connect yourselves to Him, if you have as a concern in your heart wanting to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then there is hope that you will become carriers of this great trust and this great responsibility. التي ورثها فينا وتركها لنا حبيبه المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم. This responsibility which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam left for us and he requested it to us, right? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the greatest carrier of this trust, and he passed away obviously. He was given the option. He was given the option of living as a king. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given the option also of living amongst his ummah for however long he wanted to, but he chose to move into the realm of the barzakh because he knew that there would be worthy people that would be able to carry this responsibility. So this is the trust of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it has been protected each and every single generation. There will never be a time until the day of Qiyamah or until the Quran is lifted, except that there will be people on the face of the earth who have taken this responsibility, the understanding of the deen with its spiritual states, and the understanding of how it needs to be implemented in the times that we are living in, right, in each and every single generation. This deen has never been in a state of orphanage. Right? Each and every single generation from the time of the Prophet right up to our time today, there are these people that they are doing the work that was the Prophet in our time today. This is the work he would carry out. And obviously, there are many different manifestations of people who are the inheritors of this prophetic inheritance. All the person has to do is find search and find out who they are and join them, and if one cannot join them, then to support them. وحفظ بحمد الله, it has been protected by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وما أحبها في العصور الماضية برزت باهية في عصرنا هذا لبروز مخفيها. And even though it has been protected in previous generations, meaning in previous generations or in times gone by, for example, in this past century or so, these people might have been few in number, right? Or they might have not been known to the whole world. And having the same however, it will become manifest in this day and age of ours. Such that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will now make apparent things which were previously hidden. So that those promises which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Prophet made will now come to be. The promises that were made, and this is a heavy speech if people understand that the time that we are living in is a very important time. Things which were kept hidden, right? or things that were not known to many people in the past. This is the age in which these things will now become apparent. And the fulfillment of promises, we are living in an age very close to the time in which the divine promises and prophetic promises are going to be fulfilled. وتحقيق ما ذكره الله لحبيبه خير البريات صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم, and the realization of those things which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Okay, if we look at the hadith that talk about the glad tidings that would happen, the good things that would happen to the Ummah at the end of times, we are very close to that, because the Ummah has already and is going through many of the tribulations which have also been mentioned. بعد ذلك كيف يرضى الواحد منكم أن يتخلف أو يتأخر أو يتأخر. And so if one realizes and understands that we are living in a time in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will choose to manifest His deen to bring victory to the believers, right? And to fulfill the promises that were made to the believers, after one realizes, how can any one of you still be pleased to remain behind, right? To be lazy, or to even retrogress, that you don't now want to tread the path of trying to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or serving the deen of purifying your owners. How can one be pleased to just live their life normally? لو نعلم لكم شيئا خيرا وأحسن لقلنا لكم اذهبوا إليه. I was telling the students that if we knew that there was anything better for you to be doing, then we would have sent you to it. This was being said in a time when, okay, perhaps there were other groups of people calling to certain types of jihad which weren't actually true forms of jihad. They were under the names of jihad, but only fighting as Muslims, or fighting because of power, or fighting because of wealth, fighting because of status. And the true jihad is only the jihad in which the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reigns supreme. And we also have instances of some students who have requested for the Mashaykh to go to these places to fight. Had we found, or had we known anything better for you to be doing, we would have sent you to it. But this that you are doing now, right? Understanding these concepts, realizing yourselves in these three objectives, and this preparation for this coming phase, this is the best thing for you to be doing. Why? These promises cannot occur, right? Unless the Ummah is prepared for it, but their hearts to understand these concepts, and they will then be able to implement the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires. Not in the way in which a person's own ego, right, or a manifestation of his ego will occur. So if some people might be involved in teaching the Sharia, they might be involved in da'wah, they might be involved also in certain forms of circles of dhikr, but because perhaps the understanding and the spiritual purification is not in order, those outward aspects become a manifestation of a person's own spiritual diseases, whether it is ego, seeking status, seeking wealth, right? Or a childish sort of attitude in which it's us, and this comprehensive nature of the deen is not manifested. And so if we knew anything better, we would have told you to go to those places. لكن هذا هو مولاكم وأرواحكم هنا. But this is your Lord, and the prophets of your Lord lie here. Meaning what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised in his end of times, the realization starts here. وَخَيْرُكُمْ هُنَا كَيْفَمَا تَقْطَعُونَ مِنْ أَجْلِهِ عَلَائِقَ الْخَلْقِ وَعَلَائِقَ الْكَوْنِ بِمَا فِيهَا. Right? And so your prophets, in the good, all the good that you are seeking the year after, it starts here, right? And what's all of this? How then can you not cut off the obstacles and the heart's connections to the creation, into the universe, that are preventing you from achieving this objective? إذا كان الذين يدعون إلى البارئ يزهدون فيما يظهر لهم في عالم الروح وملكوت الأعلى. Those that were called by their Lord, called by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being the prophets, for example, the Prophet Muslim as well, in the statement of Isra, and يزهدون فيما يظهر لهم في عالم الروح. They turn away from those things that manifest to them in the spiritual realm. The people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the spiritual realm means the things that a person does not have privy to. For example, one of us, you might think, oh, if these things have to open up the unveiling of seeing paradise, or seeing, things in the spiritual realm, a person would be happy to actually see that or be unveiled to some of these realities. But those who are there, the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they also turn away from the death for them is like our dunya. Why? It's because they only want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if they turn away from what manifests to them in the spiritual world, right? وَفِي مَلَكُوتِ الْأَعْلَى, and also in the higher realms after the spiritual realm. Obviously, they are unlimited number of realms. وَيُقَالُ لَهُمْ لَا تَلْتَفِتُوا وَلْيَعْتُوا فَصْلَكُمْ وَاحِدًا وَالْوَاحِدِ. And it is almost as if it is said to them when they are in the spiritual traversing, that do not let your eyes glance left and right, or do not be tempted by these things also in the spiritual realm. وَاجْعَلُوا قَصْدَكُمْ وَاحِدًا وَالْوَاحِدِ. Make the objective only one. And what is the one objective? The one in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And that is why we would make the Sayyidina Rabi al-Adawiyya, rahmatullah ta'ala, I would make the dua that, Allah, if I seek paradise from you out of love for it, then prevent me from it. And if I seek protection in hellfire out of fear for it, then throw me to the hellfire. But if I ask to gaze upon your countenance, then do not deprive of that. In this regard, we find some people, when they hear some of these things, they think that the awliya, they think that these people do not give any preference to also paradise, or they are not fearful of the hellfire of Jahannam. This is not the awliya. They give reverence to those things which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives reverence to, right? But this is not the goal. Anything created is not the goal. The goal is to get proximity to the one who is the creator. So as long as you are still connected to created things, then you are still not connected to the creator. The only one created thing that a person has unlimited restriction in connecting themselves to is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there can be no connection to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam except that it will lead you to the connection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people also have a misunderstanding. They think that if you love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam too much, or if you connect too much to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right, then this is going to distract you from Allah, or it's a form of shirk, and this is a complete misunderstanding. And it is also behind it is certain plots of how people have developed, and Islam have developed certain concepts to cut people off from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The sole purpose of the Prophet ﷺ is to guide and to be a guide to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So no matter how much you connect to the Prophet ﷺ, you will always be guided to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the more you are connected to the Prophet ﷺ, the more you are connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you find that the relationship with the Prophet ﷺ is one thing, that means that the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one thing. In the verse in the third juz of the Quran, Allah speaks about this. Right? That how can those who are trustees of the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala call people to worship themselves? وَلَكِنْ كُونُوا رَبَّانِيِّينَ. Right? But be people who are Rabbaniyin, meaning you are like, we can use the term divinely tainted beings. Like people who are walking on this earth, but their tarbiyah has been done by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself through the prophets. And so they are walking on earth, but the souls are in the sky, or the souls are in the heavens. لا تلتفتوا واجعلوا قصدكم واحدا لواحد. فكيف نحن ولا نزال نقاتل الأمة في أعلاء هذا العالم الأسفل. Right? Habib is then lamenting. The lamenting the fact is saying, how then can it be that we are still talking, exhorting the Ummah to cut themselves off from this lower beyond the dunya? If the Anbiya and the Awliya who were called to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they cut themselves off from being connected to spiritual manifestations because they didn't want the spiritual manifestations to distract them from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then how can it be that we are still in this world where we talk to the Ummah, when we give talks and lectures, we have to talk to people about covering their gaze, all of the things which the sins which we have committed, right? And this is the lament by the Awliya, because had their students, had the people around them, had the Ummah been on a higher level, then their speech would have been on a higher level. They would be able to reveal much more to us about, right, the special characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ. They would be able to reveal much more of hidden knowledges. How many awliya, how many of Sahaba passed away? He said we passed away, we have knowledge which we have not even been asked about. So as long as we are still involved in sins, then when they speak to us, they only have to speak about uncommon sins. You're not reading Salah, they have to tell us read Salah. You're not reading Quran, they have to tell us read Quran. But if we're doing all of it, then what? They will be able to speak to us about other things. So for how long? And we are still exhorting the Ummah to cut themselves off from the story. وفي علاية هذا العالم الأنزل, which is the lowest realm, the vilest realm. وفي علاية هذا العالم الأقل, this lowest dunya. Habib just explaining, right? The dunya doesn't weigh in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the effect of the weight of the wing of a mosquito. And our hearts are connected. And so if your heart is connected to that which is despicable in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does it say about the state of that heart in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? فنقول لهم اقطعوا على إقامهم. So we are telling you now, cut your connections, right? Or cut your heart's connections to this world and to everything else besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لا يؤخركم هذا الكون الأدنى. Let not this lower universe, this humiliated realm cut you off from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وهذا الكون الحقير. And it is despicable. وهذا الكون القصير. It is short-lived. وهذا الكون القليل. It is little. In comparison to what is on offer, you are connecting your heart to something despicable, lowly, and what is on offer is something extremely precious in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أنتم ما عرفتم لما تشوقت قلوب أهل الصدق إليكم. Then he said, do you not know the hearts of those who are truthful amongst you, meaning the true people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do you know what it is that their hearts yearn for? وإلى ماذا اشتاقت قلوب أهل المعرفة أمامكم, in the hearts of the people who have divine knowledge and who are divinely acquainted with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is it that their hearts yearn for? وقد مضوا قرونا كثيرة. Many generations and centuries have passed by. وقرننا يحتاج إلى ذوق من ذاك الذوق. Look at the light, and Habib mentioned this, obviously these qualities, right? إنما يكون منهم من يعشق ربه. Those who are flag bearers, or those who are the bearers of this responsibility, they are people who yearn for their Lord. They have a very special relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have spiritual states which are connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And he's saying that this generation of ours require people who have this experiential tasting or the spiritual state with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as those of the past. So if you look at the state of Sayyidina Haritha, who was a Sahabi, those after them, Hassan al-Basri, Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jailani, Shaykh Abu Bakr bin Sani, Taqi al-Muqaddam, Shaykh Rahman al-Sattaw, Shaykh Aydrus al-Akbar, Imam al-Haddad. These were the flag bearers, right? And we think about them over and above all the knowledge that they had, over and above all the da'wah, and over and above all, right? What did they have? They had a state of Allah. It is these states which the Ummah needs, right, for the rectification of the Ummah to take place. And so this generation of ours required this type of spiritual tasting as it existed in the past, and that yearning which existed in the past. The yearning that the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had in the past, the Ummah today needs that same yearning, right? به تصف الصفوف في نصرة الحبيب صلى الله عليه وسلم ونصرة هذا الشرع, right? And it is upon this love, this yearning, this connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this wanting what is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, cutting the connections to this world, only wanting what is with Allah and Prophet, that is how the ranks will be arranged, right, for those who will give victory to the Prophet and to this area. And so many times, even we read the hadith from the Prophet, where it says the latter part of the Ummah will not be corrected except with what the previous part of the Ummah were connected. So many people in the interpreters, they will say, is the Quran connection to the Quran, it is this, it's that, right? And what Habib Umar is explaining is that we need to look at the hearts of the Sahaba. What were the quality of their hearts and this love that they had for the Prophet? right? The concurrent theme or the common theme when you read the lives of the Sahaba, right? And you read all the stories of Sahaba, what is the most apparent thing that is any story of any Sahaba that you read, what is apparent? Hmm? This immense love for the Prophet, that they were willing to sacrifice it. I love that if we had to see it in front of our eyes today, we'd say that this is extremism. We say that this is, this is taking the deen too far. Right? And this is what Hassan al-Basri said. He said that were you to, and he was a tabi, right? And he told the people in his time that had you met the Sahaba, you would say that they were extremists. Right? It is this love of the Prophet, this love of Allah. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. Right? This is the love of Allah and the Prophet that the Sahaba had. This is what made them reflect as carriers of the deen. They were willing to sacrifice life and young for it, right? Health and wealth. And this is what we are like. And the Quran is there, the teaching of the Prophet is there. But that emotional, that heart's connection, that mind's connection, it completely transforms the person, right? And make them want to change their life for the better. That is what we are. And there's a famous story of someone who was a person who was involved in Dawah, and they were doing lots of work, going around speaking to people, trying to bring people to Islam. And they thought that, I'm doing so much. Basically, his life and his time, and even his time with his family and children would be sacrificed. He said, why did Allah keep me in this generation, in this particular age? I don't deserve to be a Sahaba. I'm giving so much to the deen. And he thought that if I lived in the time of Prophet, I would have been one of the best Sahaba. And this thought started to trouble him, that why wasn't I with the Sahaba? Why wasn't I? And so he sees one day when he's out in his da'wah program, right? He sees a dream. And in this dream, he sees the Prophet on a carriage. That golden horse and cart type of thing. And the horse is galloping, and the Prophet is sitting on the carriage, and then suddenly the ropes that is connecting the horse to the carriage, the horse runs one way, and the carriage now is traveling on its own. And it's heading down the slope. And at the end of the slope is what? Nothing. It's going to fall down. And he sees this is the Prophet in the carriage and the slope. And so he starts running, right? What does he want to do? He wants to save the Prophet. So as he's running, he's looking for a stick or he's looking for a rock or something that he can put into the spokes of the tire of the carriage so that he can stop. And as he's running, he's looking for a spoke. The carriage is getting closer to the end. And suddenly he sees one Sahaba come and dive with his whole body into the spokes of the carriage. He said, I woke up and I knew why I'm not there, why I'm not there. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us this special connection with the Prophet ﷺ, and to allow us to be in the company of those who will always encourage us to be better, strive to be better, so that we can at least have something to show on the day of Qiyamah. Even though it will be few and it will be little, but if we connect ourselves to those people who are the perfect inheritors of the Prophet ﷺ, then it's the hope that they will be able to lift us up, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذين آمنوا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم